I started by welcoming you to MAT Abacus Business School taxation webinar. And we are saying that this paper is on level 2 CPA, and specifically it is based on tax laws of the country. We say that the laws are made by Parliament, and they are made effective 1st July 2020, every financial year. So the government, when it reads the budget, it incorporates laws that are going to help it raise revenue to support the public spending. And one of the ways the government raises revenue is through taxation. So that's where the paper is based on. But these laws are made to tax the private entities and other entities that contribute to taxes. So the private entities, the individuals, and corporations are required to understand these laws and how to use them so that they are able to comply with the government laws and collect enough revenue to support government expenditure. So for examination purposes, I said this paper has 2 sections, Section A and Section B. Section A has only question 1, has only 1 question. And this question takes 40 marks. This question takes 40 marks, and it is compulsory. It is compulsory. It is compulsory. Section B has got 4 questions. Has got 4 questions, but then you choose 3 questions. So it is 4, choose 3. Each question carries 20 marks. So it is 20 marks times 3 questions. So that's 60 marks. Those are 60 marks. So when you add 40 plus 60, it gives you 100 marks in total. And the pass mark for this exam, the pass mark for this question, for this exam, is 50%. So for you to be able to pass, you must score in excess of 50%. So it doesn't matter which section you get them from, whether you get them all from Section B or from Section A. What matters is that the addition of all the marks from both Section A and B equals 50 marks or more. That's one. Now, what is comprised in each section? What is comprised in each section? Section A there are some topics which have always come in this section. 1, they normally examine taxation of business income. They normally examine taxation of business income. Now, business income is of different categories. A, we have taxation of business income of individuals. Individuals is me and you. Me and you making income. Me and you earning income. So if we earn income, if we are earning income, then the law requires us to pay taxes. The income can go beyond the employment income. If you have other incomes, you earn. But when we start the classes next week, and the subsequent classes we shall see in detail how can we compute the incomes of an individual and the tax payable thereof. Shall also now look at the tax payable of that individual. And in the course, if you develop a question, please feel free to ask. I should, so that I don't leave you behind. B, we look at taxation of companies. So companies, corporations, they make incomes. So the income of these companies is also expected to be taxed. The tax laws expect you, if you are a company and you earn income, to tax it. Now, so then our major focus will be on how to compute the tax payable. It will be how to compute the tax payable. The tax payable. But for us to come up to come up with the tax payable, then we need to first compute the chargeable income. After computing the chargeable income, then we can apply tax rates. But that we shall look at it in detail when we come to it. And I must say that the examiner, this is a darling of the examiner. This one is the most common. That one is the most common. Then the next one is taxation of partnerships. Taxation of partnerships. So partnerships have partnership income. They have partnership income. So how do we get the tax payable? And as we look at it in detail, you realize that partners are the ones to pay tax, not the partnership itself. But we shall look at what is the partnership. And I know most of you have done financial accounting. And if you've not done, we shall look at it. So you understand what is the partnership. Accounting for partnership. But then in this, we shall be looking at the tax to pay for a partnership. If you are running a business as a partnership, how much tax do you pay? And how do you compute it? And where we shall look at a situation that the partners are the ones to pay tax and not the partnership. And this can also come as number one, compulsory. So in the past, these three topics are the ones that have come as compulsory numbers. Section A. And like I said, they take 40 marks when they're examined. Now, when they're examining this, they include the computational part, and this one takes about 32 marks. And the theory part, which takes about 8 marks. So that the whole adds up to 40 marks. So as we are studying, we shall now look at how do you compute? What do you need to look out for? about the theory. How do you handle that so that we're able to score those 40 marks? Any question at this stage? Okay. So that is section A. Section B. Section B, like I said, this one takes 60 marks. It takes 60 marks, and they set 4 questions for you to choose 3. So one of the questions is employment income, taxation of employment income. What people normally call pay as you earn. Pay as you earn. Now, I know most of you are working, you must be paying pay as you earn. How much tax do you pay over the income you earn? How much tax do you pay? That is what we call pay as you earn. So we shall look at this. You have income, you are working as an employee. How much tax do you pay? And in here, we shall be looking at the difference between an employee and a consultant. Between an employee and a consultant. The tax authority has had many cases between this. So you remember the case of IDI versus URA. Case of IDI versus URA, where URA recategorized consultants as employees, because you know consultants pay tax at 6%, and employees pay taxes according to the pay schedule, to the tax bands, averaging at 30% to 40%, depending on the level of income. So IDI was paying only 6%. When URA looked at the contracts, looked at the transaction, it recategorized these consultants and said these were not consultants, were actually employees. Therefore, IDI was supposed to be paying more tax because it paid at a lower rate. So we shall look at who is the consultant and who is an employee, so that when you are in your business, you are advising your companies, you're able to advise them correctly on how to mitigate this, so that you're not caught off guard, and also for examination purposes. So we shall look at that. In here, it is where we shall look at the benefits that are taxable. So we have the benefits that are taxable benefits. So when you are employed, you earn, your employment gives you benefits. So you may have accommodation as a benefit. You may have housing, housing as a benefit. You may have airtime as a benefit. You may have a motor vehicle. The company may give you a motor vehicle as a benefit. The company may give you per diem when you travel. The company may reimburse fuel reimbursement. So we shall look at this. Do these form part of employment? Should they be taxed? Should they be added to your employment income? And on top of that, you may have salary. You may terminate some employees and give them terminal benefits. terminal benefits. You may give them phones or computers as part of their role. So we shall look at whether these are taxable and how are they taxable. They may be given child allowance, like Emily is saying. Thank you, Emily. Child allowance. They may pay school fees for your children. And also maybe school fees for yourself. School fees for self. They may pay for your gym. They may pay for your professional fees. Let's say you are a member of the institute and you are required to pay professional fees. So we're going to look at how do you tax these ones. Shall look at how do you tax these ones. So some of them are taxable, others are not taxable, and also it depends on how the transaction is structured. Take an example. You may have accommodation. It is taxable and it is not taxable. So depending on how it is structured. Altogether, you may have, let's say, professional fees. Depending on how the transaction is structured, they may be taxable or not taxable. So what you need to pick from here is, how do I know it is taxable and how do I know it is not taxable? And that's where that's where the focus will be. Because at the end of the course, at the end of the sessions, you will be able to distinguish this. Because we shall be giving you scenarios, the teaching will be in a way that you're able to pick these out from the question and be able to interpret them, both for the exam and both for practice. The other one we will look at, which is also part of the exam, that is a part of the topics that are examined, is customs management. Customs management. So with customs, we are looking at a company in Uganda is purchasing goods in China, in another company in China. So meaning that it is importing. It is importing. Or it is exporting. So it can either be importing or it is exporting. So what we shall look at here is, what are the customs duties? Customs duties. So the customs duties is what the layman call the taxes. So the layman call them the taxes when you are importing or exporting. So what taxes are you supposed to pay? That's what is under customs. So now some of the taxes, we have what you call import duty. Import duty. When you import goods, you pay import duty. So we're going to see, how do you compute this import duty? Two, we shall look at excise duty. Excise duty. How do you compute the excise duty? 3, we shall look at VAT. How do you compute VAT on importation? And 4, we shall look at withholding tax. How do you compute withholding tax on importation? Then 5 is infrastructure levy. Infrastructure levy. How do you compute this? And once you add all these taxes, they are called customs duties. They are called the customs duties. It's the summation of all this. And the customs duty is computed based, we shall see that it's computed based on the customs value. We shall see that it is computed based on the customs value. So we shall now need to know, how do we compute the customs value? So the customs value, we shall see it is computed using the 6 methods of customs valuation. So these methods, we shall look at them in detail. Method 1, method 2, up to method 6. And we shall see which one is preferred. So that when you are importing goods into the country, you are able to look at them. Well, we shall look at the transaction value method, the identical value method, and all those, the deductive method. So we shall see how do we use those methods to compute the taxes. So when you are in your company and the company is importing goods, you're able to compute the taxes. You're able to compute the taxes to be paid. Then 2, you're also able to do this in an exam and compute the taxes. They may give you a scenario, the exam will be in an scenario, like the one I have given you, that XYZ Limited, XYZ Limited is importing computers from China and has paid this. Along the way, it has done the clearing, has done this, has done this, has done this, up to the goods have reached the port of Mombasa, and then what is the customs duty to be paid? So we shall look at that. Now, along the way, as we are doing this, there are some processes that are involved. So we have processes involved in customs. So we shall look at them. We shall look at warehousing. How does warehousing happen? We shall look at clearing of goods. Clearing of goods. Or declaration of goods using the ACCA system. Some of you might have heard of ACCA, a system that is used to declare the goods. When you bring the goods into the country, how do you declare them? Using the ACCA system. Then about re-exportation or re-importation, or re-exportation. We shall look at all of that. So in class, this is what we shall look at in detail, and also give you how to answer a question. How can you answer a question? The template, shall also look at the template of customs value and customs duties. Customs duties. So how do you compute the customs value? How about the duties? So I will give you the template so that you're able to pick it and make sure that you have picked it and you have you pass it in an exam. So all this we shall look at it. Any questions so far? Please confirm you can hear me.
Yeah, sure. You can hear.
You can hear.
Any question? Okay. The questions will come maybe later. So what is customs management? The other area we shall look at is called the VAT. VAT is value added tax. Value added tax. VAT in Uganda developed prominence in 2021 when they started enforcement of the IFRIS. When they started the enforcement of IFRIS. Who can give us IFRIS in full? Who can give us IFRIS in full? Anyone who has heard about IFRIS? Anyone? Okay.
Yes,
Yes, please tell us.
it is electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing system.
Electronic fiscal
receipting
receipting
and invoicing system.
and invoicing.
Yes.
Now, it is not called a system, it is called a solution. Thank you so much for that. So it is electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution. And invoicing solution. So most people call it a system, but it is a what? It is a solution. Yes. So we shall look at this. How has it helped? The examiner can ask, how has it helped Uganda Revenue Authority to collect taxes? Yes. Thank you, Joan. Electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing system. Like we have collected, it is not a system, it is a solution. So we're going to look at this. What does it do? You know, it is used in invoicing and receipting. So in here, so we're going to look at the methods of accounting. Methods of accounting. What are the methods of accounting? Where we shall look at cash-based accounting and accrual basis accounting. So, in a VAT, like you know, this is a tax that you pay on a daily basis. Tax you pay on a daily basis. If you walk to the supermarket, you are going to pay tax because they are going to give you a receipt, and on that receipt, there will be the word VAT. I was watching something on social media when they served the bill. Someone was asking, who ordered for VAT? Who ordered for VAT? Because they were remembering they ordered drinks, what, this and this. And then on that, there was VAT. Someone was asking, who ordered for VAT? So they needed someone like you to explain to them what is VAT and how does it get onto the bill. And what are the consequences of you not charging VAT? So we shall look at, we shall also come to learn that VAT is charged on taxable supplies. Shall look at the taxable supplies. Shall also look at exempt supplies. Exempt supplies. Where we shall look at that taxable supplies, we have zero rated supplies, and standard rated supplies. Rated supplies. And under exempt supplies, we shall look at them as exempt supplies. Exempt supplies. And we shall see that zero-rated supplies, for them, they are charged at 0%. And standard-rated supplies are charged at 18%. And also see that exempt supplies have no rate applicable. No rate applicable. So we shall look at this in detail, and we see how do we tax taxable suppliers? How about how do we handle exempt supplies? How do we handle this? How do you handle that? And we shall also look at how, what is the template for VAT computation, because this is normally disturbs students. Template for VAT computation disturbs students. So you find that they are using a wrong template, for example. So how do you use this template? And what's this template? Where we shall have output VAT, we list what is under output VAT, and input VAT. Shall look at this, output VAT and input VAT. And when you get input VAT minus output VAT minus input, you get either tax payable or claimable. So we shall look at all this. And you also need to understand that the tax, the major focus of this is to know which tax to pay. And if you need to know which tax to pay, you need to go to understand what goes under output VAT, what goes under input VAT. Where you will note that under output, you only have sales and exports. Then under input, we have purchases and expenses. Then we shall also note that VAT on imported service. VAT on imported service. How is it accounted for? If imported service, how do you account for VAT? What about if you have input VAT on imported service? How do you account for it? So all of that, we shall come to it, so that by the end of the course, you're able to compute the VAT to pay for both academic and practical purposes. For both academic and practical purposes. Then we shall also look at the capital gains tax. Capital gains tax. This is the number. VAT was the number.
This is number 4.
Yes, this is number 3. So this is topic number 4. And that's how they normally examine them. That's how they normally examine them. So under capital gains tax is CGT. CGT. So we shall look at what is capital gains tax. Where we shall say that CGT is capital gain minus, so it is consideration minus the cost base. So we shall look what constitutes consideration and what constitutes the cost base. So we shall look at this, where this one is under Section 50 of the Income Tax Act. We shall look at the act and see how do we pick the cost base. How do we pick the cost base? And under Section 18 of the Income Tax Act, we shall see that capital gains tax is not a tax on its own. It is included in a business income, the one we looked at in number 1. But for examination purposes, it is examined separately. And we shall also look at it that it is tax charged on business assets. On business assets. And we shall also look at that it is tax that's charged on business assets, and some taxes, some assets like motor vehicles. If you have a motor vehicle, it has 2 assets, it has a business asset and a depreciating asset. So we shall look at this, whereby we say the business asset, the depreciating asset is 60 million. If the vehicle was 500 million, it was a Mercedes-Benz at 500 million. We're saying that the portion of it is 60 million and the balance of it is a business asset. So what's the difference? That will be a business asset. So we shall look at all this and how do we compute this? How do we get the capital gains tax? How do we get the capital gains tax? We shall look at it. And we shall also look at a situation that not all assets will result into the disposal. Not all disposal result into capital gain and also capital gains tax. So we shall look at assets whose disposal does not result into capital gains tax. We shall look at them. When you transfer assets between spouses, no disposal, no gain is recognized, and therefore no tax is paid. If you transfer assets between former spouses as a way of divorce, no tax. If you invest the proceeds of an asset in a similar kind in a period of 1 year, you also realize no tax that is paid. We shall look at all that and how do you determine it. All that will be in our detailed classes. The other area we shall look at is rental tax. Is the number what? Number 5. Rental tax. So, rental tax, some of you are landlords, and if you are not a landlord, you are either a tenant. If you are not a tenant, you are paying rent for someone, and if not, you have ever paid rent at least. So we shall look at how do the rent you pay to the landlord, how does the landlord account for it? Does he pay tax on it? Does he pay tax on it? And if yes, how? There are two circumstances. One is if he's an individual. If he is an individual. An individual means he's a person, he's a natural person. And he owns his apartment. He owns his arcade. How does he pay tax? And how about if he is just staying in his own house? Does he pay tax? Are you asking something? Is there any question? Hello? Okay. So if he's an individual, is he pay how much tax does he pay? How do you compute the tax? How do you compute that? Well, we shall look at that. He pays tax on at 12%. But how? And what are the considerations we need to look at? Then B is what about if he's a company? How much tax does he pay? Well, we shall look at tax at 30%. Because someone can run rentals as a company, who can run rentals as an individual. So there are different ways how you tax it. And we shall also see that rental tax is charged under Section 5 of the Income Tax Act. As it is taxed separately. Taxed separately. Meaning that you cannot aggregate it with other incomes under business income. You tax it separately. And we shall also look at it in income tax. In the business income, when you find transactions of rental tax, you're supposed to remove them and tax them separately. And this is guided by Section 5 of the Income Tax Act. So we shall look at it. How do you compute the tax? And rental tax is very common when they examine it. Normally it takes about 5 to 10 marks when it is examined. In other cases, as if in the last exam, last sitting, it was brought as a full number. You recheck that paper and see. But it is the simplest you can ever have. The simplest you can ever have. So in other cases, if it is not examined separately, the other ones I've looked at above are examined separately. If this is not examined separately, it is mixed with employment income. If it is not mixed with employment income, it is mixed with business income. In most cases. So the bottom line is to understand how to compute it. Where it is examined is not a big deal, so long as you know how to compute it and how to go about it. So the other area, any question here? Okay, the other area is number what? This is number 6. We shall look at withholding tax. Withholding tax. So withholding tax, what is this withholding tax? So we shall look at withholding tax. Now withholding tax is in different forms. When you invoice, you have issued an invoice. issued an invoice to XYZ Limited. For you are ABC Limited. You have issued an invoice to XYZ Limited. XYZ Limited, when it is paying you, it is making a payment. It has an obligation by law under Section 126 of the Income Tax Act to make a withholding at 6%. So when it is paying you, it will pay you, the payment will be 94% of the money. It will not pay you 100% of the money. You will have to pay only 94%. So this is what we shall look at. How do you account? How do you account for withholding in this nature? And this person whom they have withheld, ABC, will have what we call withholding tax credits. Withholding tax credits. So when he is filing his business income, he will be required, or he has a benefit of reducing his tax liability. Is withholding tax filed for? Yes, it is filed. You have to file it every month. All the taxes you talked about, you have to file them. So even withholding tax, you have to file. And it was examined last sitting, I think. So that is withholding. It has a withholding tax credit. But there are some circumstances where the person is not allowed to use it as a credit. And then we have entities that are withholding tax exempt. When you are making payments, you have seen that they are withholding tax exempt. So meaning that when you are making a payment to them, you cannot withhold from them. And how do you determine withholding tax credits? So the withholding tax credits, like we shall see in our classes, is that this person has made withholding from you. You the person they paid, you check on your tax ledger. You check on your tax ledger, and you are able to pick all the withholding tax credits and you use them to reduce the tax to pay. Use them to offset the tax to pay. If you want a practical one, if you have a scenario, we can look at it and have advise you accordingly. So that is how it works. So we have people who are withholding tax exempt. So we shall see how do they and where do you find them. Then two, we have payments. Once they are made, they are withholding tax. The withholding tax is the final tax. We shall look at this. This is very common, highly examinable. If it is final tax, what payments are final tax? And what are the implications? What are the implications? What are the implications when the withholding is a final tax? Very common in an exam. When you check December 2025 examination, you will find this. You will find this. In the previous class, this is the number I taught them. It is the same way it was examined. It was the same way it was examined. So by the way, the prize winner for this paper was from our class of last sitting. We had the prize winner. And so many other people getting passes, you will check and see so many people that passed this paper were from MAT Abacus, a business school, including the prize winner. So just to be assured that you are in the right place. Any questions so far? Do you have any question? Okay. Now, having talked about passing, I normally give my students how to pass the paper. So that the topics that we shall commonly look at how to pass the CPA 11 exam. Because I know, and most of you were here to pass the exam. I don't think there are people who are here who pass the exam and they are just here to learn tax for practical purposes. Much as this will give you the practical bit, but most of you here, your major objective is to pass the exam in May 2026. So how to pass the paper? I normally give this to my students, but those who follow, 99.9%, they pass. One, I normally give this. One is to ensure you attendance. You ensure you attend more than 95% of the classes. At least you attend 95% of the classes. And attendance means you attend when the class is happening, not listening to recordings. I normally have students who say, I'm going to listen to recordings, and then they forget to listen. As they are listening, someone is disrupting them, and that disturbs their attention. Make sure you have 95% attendance. And most preferably, attend physical. Because MAT Abacus gives you an online platform and also gives you a physical platform. So you can come here physically at MAT Abacus and sit in the class. The benefit it brings is that you are attentive. But when you are attending from home, you are there, someone is interrupting you, you receive a call, you get so many disruptions, and then things pass you. And in learning, especially with taxation, one topic leads to the other. So if you miss one concept, it is going to come in another topic. So if you miss it and it is coming in another topic, then you get lost. Then you say things are hard, yet things are very simple. It's only that you did not follow. Because you miss one class today, by the time we go to the next class, you have not listened to it, then we are starting in the middle of where we stopped the previous class. So then that's where the confusion starts from, and that's where you mess up. So make sure you attend 95%. And if not, attend 100%. So that is attendance. I normally tell my students that if you attend 95% of the classes and you fail my paper, you attend 95%. The first time I am teaching, you are there, you are picking first-hand information. You have attended 95%, and you have attended the physical, and you fail the paper. You come and you refund your tuition. Because I am 100% sure that if you come to class physically you attend at least 95% of the classes, you cannot fail this paper. When I am the one teaching it, you cannot. So make sure you pick this. And it is not only this. If you follow, if you have evidence of following all this, there is no way you can attend, you can follow these rules I'm going to give you and you fail this paper. No way. 2, class notes. Class notes. Make sure you write notes. Write notes in your own handwriting. In your handwriting. In your own handwriting. Now, when we're in class, we write notes the way I'm writing. I am sure most of you wrote notes. The things I was talking about. There's those who put them down, others maybe did not. But make sure you write notes. As we teach, you keep putting notes down. And as you're writing notes, make sure you use a book. I prefer a counter book. Not using notebooks. Not using notebooks. Get a big book and make sure that all the notes I say in class, because most of the things we talk them in class. Other times when a lecturer is explaining, he is talking things and maybe he is not writing them. So your responsibility as a student is to make sure that you pick as much as possible, whatever they say. When they're explaining something, you write what you have understood from there. Someone is, when will classes start, and are you teaching both weekend and evening classes? Yeah, classes are classes have started today. This is part of class. We are not going to repeat what we have taught today, what we have gone through today. It is part of teaching. And we shall have the next class next weekend on Sunday. The timetable is available at MAT Abacus. At the end of this session, I will give you my contact, or you can pick the contact of the administrator. You get added to the group. You register so that you are receiving links for the class and notifications and the timetable, so that you plan better. We normally have classes on weekends, mostly on Sundays. There are some that are scheduled for Saturdays, but we have one class every week. One class is either on Sunday or Saturday, depending on the timetable. So you can pick that and you get up to date. So make sure you write your own notes. Then 3, have a question bank. Have a question bank. So the question bank will have a set of questions for the previous sittings. It normally has questions with their answers. So make sure you have them for the previous sittings. So you need to have this printed out, because every time I come to class and I am teaching employment income, I will say, you go to May 2025 question. So you have to go there. So if you don't have a question bank, then you will not have where to pick the question. And also for your personal reading, you need to be picking this and read them and practice the questions. I normally tell students, but then I tell them that you need to have this in the first class. The class we're going to have next, I expect you to have this. Now, students normally, sometimes those who are not serious, it is, we're coming to revision, someone does not have a question bank. They are just getting questions online. Because you can pick these questions on the website, on the portal for iSPAL. But I want you to have the one which is printed out. There are those that is printed out. They are sold. You can pick one. It is not very expensive for you to have this paper pass. So the next one, make sure you have a calculator, because this paper has computations and I expect you to have a calculator. The reason is that those who come to class, they are using their phones, they're using their Samsung, their Tecno, their iPhones, but then in the exam you will not have that. So you need to have a calculator so that you get used of using a calculator. You are not using the calculator for the first time in the exam. In the exam, you get used how to press the calculator. So you need to have your own calculator, and so that as we are computing, you see how things are moving. Because there are formulas, there are computations that will require you to have one, and expect you to have it every time you come to class. Then 5 is attempt a question every day. So before you sleep, every day, just take stock and ensure that you have attempted a question. Because we are going to, next week, when we come, let's say we look at employment income. So when we look at employment income, ISPAL started setting exams too many years ago, since around 1995. So if you have a question bank that starts from 2016, 2025, this is your question bank. How many years are these? These are 10 years. So if these are 10 years and in each year there are 3 sittings, times 3, these are 30 questions. These are 30 questions. So meaning that you have 30 questions of employment income you can do. So every day, because the way I structure my lectures or my topics, I do a topic each weekend. So each weekend I will be doing a topic. So meaning that if I do a topic on Sunday, I will be doing another topic on the next Sunday. So you have 7 days. So 7 days, if you are doing a question every day, it means by the next time we meet, you have done 7 questions. So if I've taught you employment income, you first read what I have taught you, the example I've given in class, and then also go to the question bank and pick 7 other questions. So if you pick those 7 questions, by the time you finish them, you have understood employment income. So there is no any other way they can trick the question. And once you are doing, you do from ascending order, from 2025, going backwards. You don't start from this side, you do going backwards. So you need to make sure that you have attempted that. Then 6, discussions. So you need to go to attend the discussions. In the event you have not understood something, but it is better to attend discussions after reading. Do not go to discussions before you read. First read, after reading, then attend the discussion so that you have something you can contribute. You're not going to discussions for people to tell you new things. Because someone may tell you, they may tell you something for the way how they understood it, yet they understood it wrongly. So by the time they are telling it to you, you're also mastering that. So it's better you go to discussion so that you are able to share knowledge and have a discussion. Because the discussion is when 2 people are sharing. Is that okay? Then any question? Any questions so far? Okay, so those are some of the things you need to do so that you're able to pass the paper. So if you handle this, most importantly, number one and two, attending classes, making sure you have notes, you have the question bank, you have a calculator, you attempt a question every day, you attend discussions, and then the next thing is asking in class and after classes. I have come to realize people who ask in class, they tend to understand more. Because there are some students who are shy, they don't want to ask, they don't want to be seen asking. So they remain behind. They remain behind. They think the question they are asking is too obvious. There is no obvious question. There is no simple question. All questions are okay. So I encourage you to ask in class. So when I am teaching, sometimes I may have been speedy. I may not have, brought out something clear to your expectation so that you are missing it. So I'm expecting you to ask as much as possible. I like people who ask in class. You ask for the masses. So when you are in class and I talk about something, even if it is too obvious, but for you have not understood it, please do not allow me to continue to the next thing before you understand it. Do not say I'm going to understand it later. Because there is no later in this, because we are busy, we are at work, we have things to do. So you may not have that later thing that you are referring to. So I'm urging you to always ask whenever we are teaching something and you have not understood. Because there is no way someone can talk for 2 hours, 3 hours, and you have understood everything. It may not be possible, especially when you are starting something for the first time. So please, I encourage you to ask. I like people who ask in class, because that's how you can easily pass. So do not have something and you keep it to yourself and say, I'm going to ask later. No. Ask that there and then, so that we move at the same pace. Then after class, you can always contact me as you are doing the numbers, as you are computing all those things, as you are attempting them. Ask, you can call me. So I'm going to give you my phone number. My WhatsApp is 0750948198 by the names of Nobert Turyamuhaki. Nobert Turyamuhaki 2@gmail.com. So you can ask me anything about tax. Anything about tax, whether it is practical, whether it is academic, please ask me. But if it is about your company, I will charge you a fee. If you want me to compute for you taxes or to represent you to URL to about your company, I may charge you a fee. But other areas, academic areas, you can ask me. Ask me anything about tax. So as you are computing, please, you can reach out to me, give me a call, send me a WhatsApp, and I will reply you. I will reply you and give you a response. So I will be available for you. Is that okay? So next week, like I said, we're going to start immediately with the computations. So make sure you do not miss. In the CPA, there is nothing like we are in orientation. They have just started. No, we start immediately. We start immediately. And in the first class, after first class, you'll be able to compute a number. You'll be able to answer an examination question. So I'm urging you to come and attend next week in big numbers. And like we agreed, if you can, if you are not up country, you're not very far, I encourage you to attend physically. Those who are up country, please, sometimes in CPA you have to sacrifice. There are so many other things. You have personal things you have to attend to. I encourage you to make sure that when it is time for class, you create that time for class and be attentive. And be attentive. Any questions, please? Okay, so if there is no question, allow me to end the class here, this webinar. And I must say that you are most welcome to MAT Abacus, and all you need for your passing is available here. And like I have told you, we have a history of making students pass. You can check last sitting. We had the prize, most of the prize winners for most of the papers. And this paper 11, the prize winner was from our class. So you are well assured you will get a pass come May 2026. Thank you so much. I wish you a nice Sunday and a blessed week ahead. Thank you so much. See you next week.